we can use data and cut it and slice it and dice it and segment it to understand it better. So some of the ways we like to look at data is separated out by your earned media versus paid media versus owned. So earned media is any media, mentions, and content that you don't own or you partnered with somebody to kind of amplify for you. So that's earned media. Then paid media is like all the content and activations that you put dollars behind. And then your own media is kind of like your organic, well, it is your organic content. It's what your own brand or you put out there that on your websites, for your campaigns, and all your social sites. And then we do another segment cut of data. We like to look at the industry-wide information on social versus your competitors. And that's kind of the whole focus here is like, how do we analyze competitor data? So moving on to the next slide. And with all this data, you have to ensure that it translates, all your marketing objectives is translating to social KPIs, or you tie it basically. You're tying it to a social key performance indicator. So they ultimately translate to the 4 key buckets of the customer journey, which is awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. So these are the 4 segments which customers go through. They become aware of your brand, and you can really measure that by your social reach, your impressions, and these are some of the metrics to guide you, to help you determine whether or not your brand is reaching an awareness key performance indicator. And then so the consideration bucket, that's when people are engaging with your content, they're liking things, they're sharing it, they're actually saying that they're interested in your product. That's the consideration bucket. And then purchase, are they saying they own it or they just bought it? So that's that whole part of the journey of a customer where they now become an advocate and start talking about how they love your brand and they're recommending it to people, and they're just really becoming your brand advocate. And what other key information around advocacy is a competitor share voice, or share a voice within a competitive set. And so when we look at that, that's another piece and critical part of competitor analysis that brands should really look into. And with that, it's about understanding the lay of the land. It's important really to understand what your competitors are doing. You have to really know what they're up to, where your business stands in the market, because it's critical for your brand to stay relevant in that regard.
And it's good that you brought up share a voice, because share a voice is one of those things that I think every brand actually needs to keep top of mind, specifically because if you're trying to gain market share in online conversations, that usually translates to more people hearing about your brand, and then you moving up in actual market share in terms of sales. We've seen that with a number of our clients where, we started working with them. They were maybe at the bottom level, but over time and continued effort and actually putting out good content, listening, monitoring their competitors, we've seen them move from the bottom spot to number 1 spot. Mm-hmm. So it just really depends. And I like what you were saying there as far as following it along the customer journey. So Myra, I guess I think that there are really 2 camps of the types of competitors that most people think of, but I can think about 6 different things for some of the clients that we work with. So yes, there is direct competitors. And that is definitely the direct people that your brand or your company has interest in or actually goes head to head against. But there's so many others, like brands with similar resources. So Myra, you were telling me about the Petco analysis that you were doing.
Right. So I was just looking at conversations around Petco, and what was interesting was that I know that PetSmart was an obvious competitor. So that was easy to recognize. But when I was just looking at Petco, another competitor did surface, and I was like, I had never even heard of this one. Oh gosh, now I can't remember the name. But so
Etsy. I think it was Etsy.
well, Etsy was one, but it was
Yeah.
another pet supplies. I don't know what it was.
Chewy.
Online store. Yes, but Chewy was one, obviously. But so what it does is it reveals like what other brands you should be paying attention to that you didn't know. There's also another service, SimilarWeb. Remember that? SimilarWeb is another way you can kind of uncover a competitor if you don't know. But the point was that, you're revealing other competitors that you may not know about. So you're keeping an eye on them. What are they doing? How are they emerging? Are they trying to maybe steal your share of voice? So
Exactly.
you gotta really keep an eye on it.
Exactly. And so we also have clients that, they're already the top of their game. So rather than look at direct competitors, they would rather look at inspirational brands or first movers. So those are the brands that, I may not be in motorcycles, but Harley Davidson is amazing on social. So wanting to aspire to be like them, Wendy's, how quirky and snarky they are on social. Those are some of the aspirational brands that, don't have to be in your exact industry, but you may want to do some brand competitive benchmarking against them. Some of the trends that we track on in analysis, there's like, I know a number that Rival IQ provide, but some of the main ones that we like to focus on are positioning analysis. Now, positioning analysis can be something that I know a lot of different people may not be familiar with, especially when it comes to social. But in positioning analysis, this is where I'm actually looking at what language you're using for your brand, how you describe yourself or your craft or your product, and then how each company describes themselves and what channels they are doing that, because it changes from channel to channel. So we are looking at the bio length, the hashtag usage, emojis, and if you have like a link tree where you reference other platforms. Then the fun one actually is the creative content. What does that look like? What are the top performing posts? What are the bottom performing posts, and why? Just picking that apart for you and your competitive set will give you a lot of great information that you can use in coming up with information for your editorial calendar. Also, captions. Captions, are really, really important because to determine their success, you have to understand what words that you're using are connecting with the audience. So we look into helping brands to understand how these words that they're using and that their competitors are using are driving the needle. Is it highly engaging words? Is it broadly used words? What are those things that you're saying that actually drive that conversation? And 3 other ones that we look at are around hashtags. So of course, we want to be able to understand how hashtags are helping users find your brand or your competitor's brand, but also how they're being able to include how well those posts are performing on Instagram or Twitter that have specific hashtags. Other analysis that we'll do is just post type. So this is just looking at what kinds of posts. Is it a carousel post? Is it a video post? Is it just a straight picture post? So looking at which post type actually performs better on your channel versus competitor channel is a great way to really understand how maybe you need to switch up your content to be a specific type to match your competitors, or have a specific mix that maybe may work better for your audience. And then the last analysis is the boosted post. Now it's really, really hard, but a tool like Rival IQ is really great in that it does help you to understand some of the different ways that your competitors may be boosting their posts. So it'll help you see where you should put your money versus your competitors and where they're putting their money.